It's Brad Atwell back with WCOU Sports with Coach Jeff Griffith on Ask the Coach. And also, just keep in mind, folks, as you listen, that if you'd like to check out a podcast of Ask the Coach each week, WCOU will post a podcast with game film after the show airs live on the radio. And you can watch that video at watchwcou.com or just go to wcouradio.com and click the video link. It's the McDonald's Ask the Coach podcast with game film, and as always, the audio podcast can be found at playwcou.com. Well, Coach Griffith, just thinking a little bit about the game last night, as I looked at the stats, just how efficient Hughes was last night. 11 for 13, and one of those was an interception that really and truly could have been a ball that could have been played on by the receiver, and man, he looked really good last night.
Well, that's what we've got to do. That Andrew has to be for us. I mean, he's got to make good decisions and doesn't have to make the huge play all the time. Just make the throws that are there. And man, he really did a great job of that last night. And as you said, the one interception that he had probably should have been caught and went off the hands of the receivers and right into the hands of DB that was just standing there. But otherwise, I thought he handled the game and managed the game for us really well. And when we called passing plays, he got the ball out on time, which is something we really worked on this week coming out of our scrimmage against Louisville Butler. You know, he got the ball out on time. When he hit his back foot, he was letting it go, and I was really pleased with his play last night.
Yeah, of course, I've got an advantage here. I've been watching these kids play since they were in the third and fourth grade, and I think last night was probably the best that I've seen him. And man, I tell you, when you look at those numbers, you think that was a good night. And one of those balls was one that actually, made a play on it in the end zone, went up. Probably should have been a pass interference call made on that play. The defender was hanging on him. He goes up and catches the ball, and the guy just he rides him to the ground, and Nick just couldn't get it into his body. But just a great play as well. But and kind of what gets that going, what did for us in the first half wasn't just the passing game, but we established the run early. That was. That to me, that was one of those things that always gets the pass going.
Well, we have to be able to run the football. I mean, obviously, I think that we have the ability to throw it, and we're going to. But at the same time, we're going to have to hang our hat on running the football. And we've got some size up front, and we were breaking in some guys up front in their first real game in terms of actual gameplay. I know it was Jake Cross hasn't played a lot of offense in his career, but he's coming along and doing a great job, and he's a big old kid. Jake Beeks is another kid. That was his first varsity start last night and first football game ever, really.
Right.
First year ever playing, and thought he really did. He struggled at times, but as the game went on, he got used to the game speed of some things. And and Metcalf had some big kids in there that can move a little bit, and but those guys did a good job, and we just got to continue. We're going to have to be able to run the ball for us to be successful. And then, as you said, that really opens up the passing game. And if we can do those things and get efficient at it, then we can have a good offense.
Yeah, speaking of the running game last night, Ellis, with 12 carries for 42 yards. Stanton has 10 carries for 41 yards with a touchdown. Andrew, talking about him being efficient last night, there was a couple times he pulled the ball down and went ahead and might have took the sack or ran. 6 carries for 4 yards. Zach Sneed, 2 carries for 4 yards. When you're rushing the ball for almost 100 yards, I think that totaled up to about 91 yards. That's going to open up stuff passing because you've got to honor the run.
And that's right. And we're going to be a run-first team, but at the same time, a lot of our passing game is going to come off the play action. So if you can establish the run, that makes your play action passing game that much more effective. And and that's what we've got to do. When we play the really good teams in our schedule and we get into district play, all of these preseason games are just warm-up games, so to speak, for our district games, because that's what we're shooting for. I guess it's week 6, the opening district game against Greenwood. That's what we've got to do, and we're trying to get better on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game in these next 5 games that we've got before we open up that district play.
Yeah, thinking about that last night, I think the only thing Hughes didn't do last night was get the water and bring it on the field. He's kicking our extra point. He's having to kick off. But one good thing is he's not having to play on the defensive side of the ball, so it looks like he is able to stay fresh.
Well, the thing that I was most pleased with, obviously you see, is 11 for 13. He was efficient with the ball, took care of the football. That was the thing. In our inter squad scrimmage and then the scrimmage against Louisville Butler, we had fumbled the football some, and last night we took care of the football, which that was a point of emphasis. But the main thing with Andrew was that he did a great job of providing leadership in our huddle over there. I mean, he was into the game. He knew what they were in, and he really communicated with our coaching staff well, and was positive the entire time, even when things weren't going well. Sometimes there in the second half, he was really trying to get everybody going, stay positive, and did a good job in providing that leadership. And we've got to have that out of him as a senior quarterback.
Yeah, and a little bit we've talked some about the passing game. Of course, talked about May had 9 catches for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns in the offense, and then with special teams returned the punt for a touchdown, and then Winiger with 2 catches for 9 yards. One thing that I saw was really good for us last night, and I don't know that we've ever went through a game in the last 3 years that I didn't see us have some kind of personal foul penalty. And last night we had 5 penalties for 45 yards, and when you can walk away from a game, your first game of the season, with only 5 penalties, I consider that a pretty good night.
Well, we don't want any penalties, obviously, but we had a couple of bad penalties in terms of we had 2 holding calls that were I haven't watched the film yet on the offensive side, but we just can't have. Because both of those calls were crucial. We were down inside the 5-yard line on one of them and got a bad holding call, and then Nick had a touchdown run on a little reverse that we got called back because of a holding call. Again, holding calls, you could probably call holding on every play. It's just unfortunate we had them called on those 2 plays. Overall, though, I thought we handled ourselves well in the penalty department other than those 2. I mean, 5 penalties is a pretty good start. I mean, sometimes you get a bunch of penalties, and especially offsides penalties and things like that. And
there was never. Did we ever get a false start penalty last night? I don't know that we ever had a false start penalty last night.
We didn't have a false start penalty, and we didn't jump off sides. So
yeah,
those are 2 things early in the year that you worry about, and I was very pleased with that aspect of it.
Well, all right. Well, again, we're going to take a break here on WCOU Sports and be back to wrap up the show with Coach Jeff Griffith of the Barren County Trojans. So come back and join us.
What are people going to think of our new buttermilk crispy chicken? Let's find out.
It's probably the best sandwich I've ever had.
It's super crispy, but it's also really juicy.
So would you guys come back? Yeah,
definitely.
Well, here's our card. The location is on the back. It's McDonald's? What?
Oh, get out
No way.
Wait, seriously?
Try some buttermilk crispy chicken. It's right around the corner at McDonald's. Buttermilk?